Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive.
Always so.
Awesome. So today we're tackling entrepreneurship and creative problem solving, and you guys gave us some really interesting stuff to work with this time.
Yeah, some wild sources.
We've got stories about making a ton of money from practically nothing.
Turning $5 into 600.
Stanford students doing like magic tricks with paper clips.
10 of them, to be exact.
And then to top it off, the whole rise and fall of the circus.
It's quite the mix.
The mission, though, is to figure out how all of this connects to you.
Right. How can you start turning problems into opportunities?
Love it. So where do we even begin with all this?
Well, Tina Seelig's work at Stanford's D School is a great starting point.
Oh, yeah. She's the one behind that What I Wish I Knew When I Was 20 book, right?
Exactly. It's packed with awesome insights, and her $5 challenge is the perfect example.
Okay, refresh my memory on that one.
So she gives her students $5 in 2 hours.
2 hours, that's...
Yep. And they have to turn that measly $5 into as much profit as possible.
No way. How much do they actually make?
On average, a 4,000% return.
What? Seriously?
No kidding. It's kind of mind-blowing. You'd think giving them almost no resources would be a recipe for disaster.
Right. Like, what can you even do with $5 these days?
That's the whole point. It forces them to get really creative. Like, one of the winning teams, they booked and resold restaurant reservations.
Whoa, hold on. How does that even work?
They noticed how packed restaurants get on Saturday nights, with people waiting forever in line.
Yeah, makes sense.
So they realized people would totally pay to skip that wait.
So smart. They literally created value from nothing. I remember she did something similar with paper clips too, right?
You're thinking of the 10 paperclip challenge, another classic.
Right, right. But with that one, it wasn't about making money, was it?
Nope, not just money. The focus was on creating value in a broader sense, any kind of value.
Interesting. I remember reading about one team that tried to break the world record for the longest paperclip chain. Didn't they get their entire community involved?
They did. It was all over the local news. Tons of people showed up to help. They might not have broken the record, but they created this amazing sense of community.
That's so cool. It shows how thinking outside the box can lead to unexpected outcomes. But Seelig also talks about problem blindness, right? What exactly is that?
It's this idea that we're often blind to problems that are actually solvable.
Like, we don't even see them as problems.
Exactly. Or we see them and just accept them as part of life.
Okay, I think I get it. Do you have an example?
Think about the early days of ATMs. People were so used to dealing with bank tellers that they couldn't imagine using a machine instead. Pure problem blindness.
Wow, that's a good point. Makes you wonder what problems we're ignoring today that could be huge opportunities in the future.
Right. Like, what if we could just teleport instead of sitting in traffic?
Or have robots do our laundry. The possibilities are endless. But how do we start seeing these hidden opportunities?
We got to get good at challenging assumptions.
Yeah.
And that's where Cirque du Soleil comes in.
Oh, yeah. Cirque du Soleil is awesome. So different from traditional circuses.
Exactly. They completely reinvented a struggling industry.
No animals, right?
Nope. It's all about the amazing acrobatics, music, and storylines.
It's like watching a dream unfold on stage.
And that's because they challenged every assumption about what a circus should be.
They ditched what everyone expected and focused on something new and different.
And while traditional circuses like Ringling Bros were going under, Cirque du Soleil was booming.
They totally broke the mold and found a whole new audience. That's pretty inspiring.
Definitely. And it's a lesson anyone can apply. What are the unspoken rules in your field?
Ooh, that's a good question. What would happen if I challenged them?
Maybe you discover a whole new way of doing things. Sometimes you need to break the rules entirely, you know.
That's a bit scary, to be honest.
That's kind of the point. Seelig talks about Linda Rottenberg, who started Endeavor, which helps entrepreneurs in developing countries.
Cool. What's so special about that?
Rottenberg has this philosophy. If others think your ideas are crazy, you might be on the right track.
Oh, I love that. It's like the best ideas are always the ones that scare us a little, right?
Absolutely. And Endeavor's proof that it can work. They've launched tons of successful businesses, creating jobs, boosting economies. They saw a problem and said, we're going to fix it, but we're going to do it differently.
Okay, so we've talked about challenging assumptions, breaking rules, but what about when things don't go as planned? What about failure?
Seelig's got a whole chapter dedicated to learning from failure.
Because everyone fails at some point.
Well, yeah, it's not about avoiding failure. It's about what you do with it.
Didn't she have a story about a team that publicly celebrated their failure?
Yes, the Wishing Tree team. They tried to make this tree using rubber bands for the innovation tournament, and it totally flopped.
Oh, no. That's got to be embarrassing.
Instead of hiding it, they made a video showing all their mistakes and what they learned, turned it into a teaching moment.
And then what happened?
They ended up winning the Stanford Business Plan competition later that year.
No way! So even failure can lead to success. That's pretty awesome. But what about luck? Can you really make your own luck?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. Is it just random chance or can you influence it somehow?
Well, Seelig believes it's not just random.
Really?
Yeah. She talks about this thing called the physics of luck. It's basically how people engage with opportunities.
Okay, break that down for me. What is this physics of luck thing?
Imagine this 2x2 matrix. One axis is how actively you look for opportunities. The other is how open you are to new experiences.
Okay, I'm following so far.
So it's someone who's not really seeking out opportunities and is closed off to new experiences. They're probably not going to have much luck.
Makes sense. You got to put yourself out there, right?
Right. But someone actively seeking opportunities and open to new experiences, they're going to create their own luck.
I like that. Like that saying, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Exactly. Remember that story Seelig tells about a lemonade stand turning into a helicopter ride?
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
It perfectly shows how a simple act of kindness, combined with being open to unexpected connections, can lead to amazing things.
It's about being proactive, helpful, and just open to whatever comes your way. That's amazing. But it's not all about luck, is it?
Of course not. Hard work and gratitude play a huge role, too.
Oh, right, gratitude. Seelig learned a lot about that from her mother. Didn't her mom always end their phone calls by asking, what can I do to be helpful?
She did. Every single time. It's such a simple question, but it makes a huge difference.
It shows you genuinely care and you're willing to help in any way you can. I love that.
And that kind of attitude is contagious. Seelig talks about reputation as drops in a pool. Every interaction we have is a drop, either clear for positive or red for negative.
So the more clear drops we have, the less those red ones stand out. Interesting analogy.
Right. It means every interaction matters. How you treat a customer service rep, how you collaborate with colleagues, it all adds up to your overall reputation.
Wow. So we got to be mindful of the drops we're putting out there. But with all these opportunities and things to focus on, how do you even choose where to put your energy?
It's definitely overwhelming. That's why prioritizing is so important. Seelig tells this funny story about her son, Josh, who wanted a new bicycle.
Okay, what did he do?
Instead of just asking for it, he got strategic. He offered to do his own laundry, and he cooked dinner 3 nights a week.
Oh, wow. He was already thinking like an entrepreneur. Did it work?
Of course. His parents couldn't say no to that deal.
That's hilarious. So it's about being resourceful, finding win-win solutions, and sometimes just being brave enough to ask for what you want. But what about when you have to say no to opportunities?
Seelig's got a great tip for that. She says, "Thank you so much for the wonderful opportunity. I wish I had time to participate. Please don't interpret my lack of time for a lack of interest."
Perfect. Polite, clear, and it keeps the door open for the future. But even when you know what to focus on, how do you actually achieve your goals?
Well, remember that 1% advantage we talked about earlier.
The power of small, consistent actions, right?
Exactly. It's like that ultra-marathon runner. They don't focus on running the entire race at once, just one step at a time.
That's a great analogy. It's about consistency and trusting the process. Wow, we covered so much ground. Challenging assumptions, breaking rules, embracing failure, making our own luck, and even gratitude and reputation. That's a lot to digest.
It is. But that's what makes these deep dives so fun, right? We're getting to the heart of these ideas and figuring out how they apply to you.
Absolutely. And there's even more to explore. We've only just scratched the surface of what Seelig has to offer.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll dig even deeper into turning problems into opportunities. You know, thinking about that 1% advantage, it reminds me of another important idea from Seelig's book, Self-Awareness.
Right. It's not just about looking outward for opportunities. It's about looking inward too, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Understanding your own strengths, weaknesses, passions, all that good stuff.
It's like knowing yourself is the first step to achieving anything worthwhile.
Seelig calls this your professional happiness design.
Professional happiness design. Okay, I like the sound of that. What is it exactly?
Think of it like a roadmap, a map you create. You figure out your skills, your passions, and then you match those to what the world needs.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where what you love to do overlaps with a real need in the world?
Exactly. And then you set goals based on that. Goals that align with your values and your skills.
Makes a lot of sense. But this professional happiness design isn't a one-time thing, is it?
Nope, definitely not. Our passions and skills evolve, and the world is constantly changing.
So you got to be flexible, adaptable, and check in with your professional happiness design every so often.
Exactly. Make sure you're still on the right track, even if the scenery changes along the way.
Love that analogy. Seelig tells a story about Nathan Furr, who started as an English major and ended up a professor at a top business school in France.
In seed, yeah. It's a great example of how your path can unfold in unexpected ways. Nada was open to new experiences, willing to take risks, and always learning.
He basically trusted the journey, even if he didn't know where it would lead. But having mentors and role models along the way probably helped, right?
Oh, absolutely. They can make a huge difference. Seelig talks about this group of students visiting a children's museum.
Okay, what happened?
They saw this young girl playing with a roller coaster exhibit, and a staff member said to her, "You're doing the same things engineers do."
And that's all it took?
Later that day, the girl confidently declared, "I learned I could be an engineer."
Wow, that's powerful. Just a few words of encouragement can spark a whole new belief in someone.
It's amazing, right? It makes you think about the messages we send to others, especially young people.
Absolutely. We never know how our words might inspire someone to pursue their dreams. But on the flip side, negative comments can also have a lasting impact.
Seelig mentions a family friend who was a neurosurgeon and dismissed her interest in the brain when she was younger.
It's got her.
It made her question her own abilities, but thankfully she had a supportive professor in college who encouraged her passion.
It's so important to have those champions in your corner, people who believe in you.
They help you see your potential, even when you don't see it yourself.
Sometimes finding your path means taking a detour from the traditional route.
Seelig herself took a leave of absence from grad school and moved to Santa Cruz with no real plan.
That sounds scary. What did she do there?
It was a tough decision, but it allowed her to rediscover her passion for neuroscience.
So it was a detour that ultimately led her to where she was meant to be.
Exactly. She even ended up working in a hospital operating room, testing new medical equipment.
Wow, that's pretty intense. So sometimes taking a break from the expected path can actually be the best thing you can do.
It's like taking the scenic route. Might take a little longer, but the views are much more interesting.
I like that. But how do you know when to take those detours?
That's the tricky part. Sometimes you just have to trust your gut.
It's about being open to those serendipitous encounters and recognizing opportunities when they pop up. Seelig uses the example of Steve Jobs, right?
Yeah. His calligraphy class, something he took just for fun, ended up influencing the design of the first Macintosh computer.
No way.
Really?
It's true. You never know how seemingly unrelated experiences can connect later on.
It's like that saying, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backward.
Exactly. Be curious, explore new ideas, even if they seem totally random.
Collect experiences like treasures. I love that.
Yeah.
But it's not all about waiting for those aha moments, is it? You got to be proactive too, right?
Absolutely. Seelig talks about Perry Claiborne, who invented a new kind of snowshoe after breaking his ankle.
Wait, what? How does that even happen?
He saw a problem and decided to solve it. He didn't just sit around waiting to heal. Wow, that's impressive. But didn't he also have to, convince people to actually use his new snowshoes?
Exactly. He had to build a market for his product. He got ski resorts to create snowshoe trails and promoted it as an alternative to skiing.
So he didn't just invent the snowshoe, he invented the need for it too.
Exactly. Sometimes that's what entrepreneurship is all about. And sometimes it's about putting yourself out there and asking for what you want.
Seelig talks about Dana Calderwood, right, the theater director.
Yeah. He knew from a young age what he wanted to do. But he didn't just magically become a Broadway director. He started small, directing plays in high school, then college, and he was constantly networking, building his reputation.
So it's about having a clear vision, putting in the work, and taking those small steps consistently.
Right. It's the long game, the dedication to your craft, and the willingness to keep pushing forward even when it's tough. And don't forget gratitude along the way.
Oh, right. Gratitude keeps you grounded and helps you appreciate the journey. Seelig tells a story about giving a talk at a conference, and she noticed a guy in the audience who looked totally bored.
Oh no, I bet that's a speaker's worst nightmare.
Totally. But she later learned that he was going through a really hard time personally.
And her talk actually helped him shift his perspective and see things more positively.
Wow, that's amazing. It's a reminder that we never know how our actions might impact others.
Exactly. And speaking of seeing things differently, Seelig also talks about paying attention to the small details. They can make all the difference.
Oh, yeah. I'm all about those little things that can create big change. Got any examples?
She talks about her friend, Michael Deering, who worked at eBay.
Okay, what did he do?
He noticed that only a tiny percentage of people were using a new feature, the option to add photos to their listings.
So people were basically missing out on a cool feature that could help them sell their stuff. I bet that changed once they saw the difference.
You bet. He did some research and found that products with photos sold faster and for more money.
Of course. A picture is worth 1,000 words.
He started promoting the feature more, and the adoption rate just exploded, bringing in millions of dollars for eBay.
Wow. So it was about seeing that small detail and figuring out how to make it work better.
It's like finding a hidden gem and polishing it up.
I love that. But it's not just about being observant, right? It's about being open to new experiences too, isn't it?
Remember that Lux surface area we talked about?
The bigger the better, right? More chances for those lucky encounters.
Exactly. Seelig says it's like walking through a field with gold nuggets everywhere.
Okay, I'm picturing it. A field of gold nuggets. What's next?
If you're walking with your head down, you're going to miss most of them.
Makes sense.
But if you're looking around, paying attention, you're much more likely to spot them.
So the more aware and open you are, the more likely you are to stumble across those opportunities. I like it.
So it's about being present, engaged, and open to the possibilities. Seelig also talks about how we frame our experiences. Our perspective makes a huge difference.
Right. Mindset is everything. Didn't she use an analogy about shooting an arrow at a target?
Yes. Imagine you shoot an arrow first, and then draw the target around it.
So you always hit the bullseye. That's brilliant.
It's about choosing to focus on the positive, seeing the good in every situation. And when it comes to confidence, our reputation plays a huge role.
Right. Reputation is everything these days. Didn't Seelig use that drops in a pool analogy again here?
She did. Every interaction is a drop, clear for positive, red for negative. The more clear drops we have, the less impact those red ones make.
It's a good reminder that every interaction counts, big or small.
Exactly. Building a good reputation starts with being helpful and generous.
Like Seelig's mom always asking, what can I do to be helpful?
Exactly. It shows you care, you're willing to go the extra mile. But sometimes being helpful means stepping back and letting others figure things out for themselves.
That's tough. It's hard to watch someone struggle when you know the solution.
It is. But Seelig tells this story about a student struggling with a project. She resisted the urge to just give him the answer.
So she let him struggle. Was that the right call?
He ended up coming up with a brilliant idea on his own.
Wow. So sometimes the best way to help is to empower others to find their own solutions?
It's about fostering independence and encouraging that can-do spirit. Seelig also talks about doing the right thing, even when it's inconvenient, like when she accidentally overpaid a contractor.
Oh, wow. I bet that was a tough one. What did she do?
She could have kept the money, but she knew it was the right thing to return it.
Talk about integrity. It's about choosing long-term gain over short-term temptation.
And it builds a foundation of trust and respect.
This makes me think about my own experimental artifacts. Seelig talks about those tangible reminders of past experiences that shape our perspective.
Like that bag of old stuff she found in her attic. Rocks, shells, old photos, even her early inventions.
A real treasure trove of memories. It sparked new ideas and inspired reflection.
It shows how our past experiences, even the seemingly insignificant ones, can shape who we are.
I love that. It makes me want to go on a treasure hunt in my own attic.
It's a reminder to cherish those memories and learn from every experience.
Speaking of embracing the good and the bad, Seelig talks a lot about embracing uncertainty, seeing it as an opportunity.
She talks about the anxiety she felt as a young grad student, not knowing what path to take.
We've all been there.
But looking back, she realized that uncertainty was actually a gift.
Because it forced her to explore different options and eventually led her to her true passion.
Exactly. It's okay to not have everything figured out. Experiment, take risks, trust the process.
Life is a journey, not a destination, right?
And the best journeys are often the least predictable. Seelig's book itself is a great example of that.
Didn't she meet her publisher by chance on a plane?
She did. And he wasn't even interested in her book proposal at first.
Oh no! Every writer's worst nightmare. What happened?
She stayed in touch, kept sharing her work, and eventually they found a project to work on together.
That's amazing. It's like a reminder to never give up on your dreams and be open to unexpected opportunities.
Persistence pays off. Seelig also talked about mindset, the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. So fixed mindset is believing your abilities are basically set in stone, right?
Exactly. You're stuck with what you've got. But a growth mindset is believing that you can always learn and improve.
People with a growth mindset are the ones who embrace challenges and keep going even when things get tough.
And they're the ones who are more likely to be successful in all areas of life.
It's about choosing to see challenges as opportunities for growth.
Seelig has some great tips for cultivating a growth mindset.
Like what?
Embrace challenges. See effort as a path to mastery. Learn from criticism. Find inspiration from others.
And remember, everyone struggles sometimes.
Don't get discouraged if you don't see results right away. Developing a growth mindset takes time.
It's like building a muscle, right? The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. But it's not enough to just read about these ideas. We have to put them into practice.
Seelig is all about action, right? She wants us to get out there and experiment.
Try new things, fail fast, learn from your mistakes.
It's about stepping out of your comfort zone and embracing the unknown. But we don't have to do it alone, right?
Seelig talks about building a support system of mentors, colleagues, friends, and family.
Having that network of support can make a world of difference.
They can encourage you, challenge you, keep you accountable.
It's like having your own personal cheering squad. You know, this whole conversation is making me realize that Seelig's book isn't just for young people starting their careers.
It's for anyone who wants to be more creative, more innovative, more successful.
It's about adopting a mindset of possibility and seeing the world as a place where we can make a difference.
And remembering that we all have the potential to achieve amazing things if we're willing to put in the effort.
As we wrap up our deep dive into Tina Seelig's book, one thing that keeps coming back to me is how she uses storytelling.
Oh yeah, she's a big believer in the power of stories.
Throughout the book, she emphasizes crafting a compelling narrative, not just for ourselves, but for the ideas we want to share with the world.
It's about connecting with people on an emotional level, making them care.
And inspiring them to take action. She even talks about turning failure into a success story, like that team from the innovation tournament who tried to create a wishing tree with rubber bands.
Remember? It was a total flop.
But instead of hiding it, they made a video highlighting what they learned from their mistakes.
Turn it into a valuable learning experience.
Exactly. It shows how storytelling can transform even our biggest setbacks into opportunities for growth. So we've explored a ton of amazing insights from Seelig's work, from challenging assumptions to embracing failure, and even creating our own luck. What stands out to you the most?
For me, it's that reminder that we have more control over our circumstances than we think.
I agree. We get so caught up in the day-to-day that we forget we have the power to shape our own lives.
And Seelig gives us the tools to do just that. Practical strategies we can all use.
It's not just about reading a book and feeling inspired. It's about taking action.
So let's talk about what that looks like. What problem are you going to tackle today?
It can be big or small. The important thing is to choose something you care about.
And then ask yourself, how can I reframe this problem as an opportunity?
Because problems are often opportunities in disguise. It's all about shifting your perspective.
Exactly. So what's one small step you can take right now to start moving in that direction?
Even a tiny step can create momentum. Remember, you have more control than you think, and you have the power to turn your problems into opportunities.
You can make your life an extraordinary adventure.
So go out there and make it happen.
We can't wait to see what you create.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Until next time.